thing that came to mind, but I didn't think that that was appropriate. So I switched it to this. So now we're going to Greece over here. I love to see my mother used to make bundt cakes all the time, and when I saw my big fat Greek wedding and she came out with the bundt cake with the flour in it, it was one of the funniest moments of my life, but it was really personal, so we won't go there. So Greece. Greece has a number of different 4 different wine regions. It is very hot, it is very humid, and you need some very special grapes to grow there. There's over 200 different grape varieties that they grow there, and they're all adapted to the hot, arid climate. The top white wines are Agiorgitiko. It's high acid, fruity, and it originated in Santorini. We're going to try one of those next month. A lot of folks order a Santorini, and that's what they're really ordering. They're ordering an Agiorgitiko that's grown on Santorini. They grow a lot of muscat that's well adapted. They grow some a grape called Mascherfilio. It's pink, high acidity, very floral. And their most widely planted grape is one called Rhodotis. It's easy drinking, crisp, fruity. Very simple wine. A lot of folks use it for table wine out there. Their top red varieties are Zino Marvo. Depending on how they make it, it either can remind you of a Pinot Noir or it can remind you of a Nebbiolo. It all depends on where it's grown and how they make it. And the wine we're having tonight, an Agiorgitiko. I've been practicing that. It's really balances fruit and tannin. It's a medium-bodied wine. I think you'll find it interesting when we get to it. There's a Marvo Daphne. If you like port and you go to the Greek wine aisle and you see something called a Marvo Daphne, it's a sweet fortified wine from Greece, sort of their version of port. Their most other famous wine is a Restina. When they first started making wine in Greece, they used to put pine resin in the wine in order to preserve it. So you've got this wine that sort of, tastes like you're walking through a Christmas tree farm or something like that, because it has a lot of pine taste to it. Because of Restina, Greek wines had gotten a really bad reputation of being, cheap, not very palatable wines. But that's only, one wine that they make there. But there's still a lot of Restina fans out there. You could find it everywhere. So if you want to have a little different experience at some point in time, get yourself a bottle of Restina so you can see what pine resin does to the taste of wine. This wine comes from Nemia. I think the wine I'm having right here, I think it was grown on these 3 vines right there. This is a picture of the area right there. It's 7,400 acres. It's the largest wine appellation in Greece. So of all the defined areas, Nemia is right here in the circle right here in Greece. They make dry and sweet wines made out of the Agiorgitiko. They grow the wines from 800 to 2,600 feet above sea level. And in such a hot, arid climate, the temperature changes when you have that much elevation change. So you can get some very different style wines. If it's grown in the lower areas, it'll be a riper style wine. If you grow it in a higher area, it'll be a little more minerally, a little less ripe and a little less fruity. Temperatures range from 40 to 87 degrees, so you got a lot of different temperature changes, which make it which adds some complexity to the wine. And gravel soils can add some minerality to the wine. The Agiorgitiko, it's often called the St. George's grape. People that don't like to say Agiorgitiko call it the St. George grape because there's in the town of Nemia, there's a St. George church and they name it after the church. It's also nicknamed the blood of Hercules because legend has it that Hercules drank the wine and it helped make him strong and that sort of thing. So I could see a few of you bulking up after just on video after you start drinking wine. It's a small, thin-skinned grape. It's susceptible to viruses, which virtually every wine having some type of disease, and it battles through it. It's made in style like we talked about, from very tannic to fruity, and a lot of it has to do with the elevation that we talked about. They can be drier, they can be sweet. It's often blended with Cabernet Sauvignon. It's usually aged in yew oak barrels, so you should get a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of baking spices, maybe a little bit of cocoa flavor out of it. Spicy, low acidity, deep color. You'll be able to see what we mean by low acidity when you taste it. And it's usually planted in very infertile soil to encourage fewer and more concentrated grapes. As we've talked about before, the best grapes come from vines that are barely surviving. They barely have enough nutrition to survive. So there's not a lot of water in the grapes. So what you get when you squeeze that grape is just the grape pulp, not a lot of water. You get a lot more flavor and a lot more intensity out of that grape.